My daughter's dad neglected her this summer. Now his visits are supervised. Welcome back to Reddit Court Files, where we pull real stories from Reddit and put them on trial. Today's case comes from r/legal advice. Quick note, nothing in this video is legal advice. We're storytellers, not lawyers. Now, let's get into it. A mother in Florida came to the legal advice subreddit with a desperate plea. She was concerned, deeply concerned, for her 12-year-old daughter while she was with her father, and she needed to know if what was happening was neglect or even abuse. The parents had a time-sharing agreement. The daughter would be with her mom during the school year and her dad for the summer. From the beginning, the father was never very involved, never really tried to build a good relationship with their daughter. Things were only okay for a few years when he was still with his ex-girlfriend, mostly because the daughter and the girlfriend were close. But even then, okay only meant that there weren't too many bad things directly between dad and daughter. What she did have to endure was listening to her father and his girlfriend scream and cuss at each other almost daily, a truly toxic environment for a young girl. Then came the breakup, and with it, a marked decline in his involvement. Last summer, he kept telling their daughter he would be picking her up the next weekend for their summer timesharing. He literally put it off the entire summer, always rescheduling, always promising to pick her up, but never following through. She never saw him that summer. This year, however, she is there, but things are going very, very poorly. The father works 5 days a week, 12-hour shifts. This means their 12-year-old daughter is left home alone all day, every day, while he works. The mother explained that there aren't exact laws in Florida regarding how long a child can be left alone, or at what age, which made her feel like this was a hard argument to make. But her daughter, at 12, simply doesn't care for herself well enough to be alone for such extended periods. She constantly needs reminders to brush her teeth and to drink water. She doesn't cook much, and her father doesn't prepare any food for her on those days. So, 5 days a week, her daughter survives solely on cereal, donuts, Nutella, chips, and other junk food. Even on his days off, their meals are mostly fast food. The daughter told her mom that he wouldn't let her eat cereal for breakfast, saying she needed to eat healthier, but then he wouldn't prepare healthy food for her either. So she'd eat some fruit, but still be left hungry. Beyond the neglect of basic needs, there was the alarming issue of his frequent outings. Her father works from around 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. But frequently, after his 12-hour shift, he goes out with friends, often not returning home until well past midnight. Her daughter called her twice, crying, because it was midnight and her dad still wasn't home. The first time, he had asked her if she was okay with him going out for a bit after work and told her he would be home around 10:30 or 11 p.m. She called her mom, distraught, at nearly 1 a.m. because he still hadn't shown up. The second time, he didn't even mention he was going out. Her daughter called her, crying at midnight because he wasn't home and she hadn't heard from him at all. While the mother was on the phone with her, he finally came home. And then, the mother heard him tell their daughter, if you wanted him home, you should have called. You have a phone, use it. He started yelling at her to finish the dishes at midnight. The daughter, in tears, went to her room and locked the door. The mother could hear him yelling at her daughter to open the expletive door, threatening to break it down. The mother stayed on the phone until things finally calmed down. To make matters worse, his friends are always talking about inappropriate things around her, like how drunk they got on a certain night, or graphic sexual encounters. This makes the 12-year-old girl incredibly uncomfortable. Her father is constantly with his friends, and he doesn't do much with her during their time-sharing. The only thing they'd done together without friends involved was go see an R-rated horror movie at 11 p.m. one night. When he is home, the environment is toxic. Her daughter says he doesn't even like her. He makes fun of her interests and openly mocks her when she cries, often in front of his friends, further embarrassing her. But most of the time, he's simply not home. The mother felt overwhelmingly like this was neglect, but with the laws feeling so vague, she didn't know her rights. She was legally his time with her, but the mother felt he was neglecting her and causing serious psychological damage, and crucially, she couldn't afford an attorney. The legal community on Reddit was unequivocal. This situation was far beyond simple neglect and veered sharply into abuse, demanding immediate action. The first and most critical step was documentation. Every single incident, every phone call, every late night, every time the daughter called crying, every inappropriate comment, every detail about the lack of food or supervision needed to be recorded, dated, and time-stamped. The mother needed to meticulously track when her daughter was left alone, what she ate, and specific examples of the father's verbal abuse or belittling remarks. The fact that the daughter was calling her mother, rather than her father, for help was powerful evidence in itself. Armed with this evidence, the next step was to contact Child Protective Services, or CPS, immediately. While the mother was right that specific laws on leaving children alone can be vague, the context here was critical. A 12-year-old who couldn't adequately care for herself, left alone for 12-plus hours a day, without proper food, and then subjected to an unstable and emotionally abusive environment when the father was home. CPS would look at the cumulative effect, the consistent lack of supervision, the inadequate food, the emotional abuse, the late-night parties, and the terrifying incident where he threatened to break down her door. The mother was advised to clearly articulate all these points, emphasizing not just one isolated incident, but a pattern of neglect and emotional harm. Simultaneously, even without immediate funds, the mother was strongly urged to seek a free or low-cost consultation with a family law attorney. Many attorneys offer initial consultations at no charge, or at a reduced rate, specifically for situations like this. An attorney could help her understand the specific legal thresholds in Florida for modifying a timesharing agreement due to child endangerment or neglect. They could also guide her through the process of filing an emergency motion with the court to temporarily suspend or significantly alter the father's timesharing, arguing that the child's physical and emotional safety was at immediate risk. The fight, would involve navigating both the state's child welfare system and the family court system, using the detailed documentation to build an undeniable case for her daughter's protection. In the face of such overwhelming evidence of neglect and emotional abuse, the legal system has a clear mandate: to protect the child. With the detailed documentation the mother meticulously gathered, corroborated by her daughter's distressed calls and the testimony of the child herself, the court would have a compelling picture of the harmful environment. CPS, after their investigation, would likely find grounds for neglect and emotional endangerment, providing further weight to the mother's claims. The win here would be multifaceted and profoundly impactful. The emergency motion filed with the court, supported by the CPS findings and the mother's irrefutable evidence, would likely result in an immediate modification of the timesharing agreement. This would mean her daughter would be swiftly removed from the father's care for the remainder of the summer, ensuring her safety and well-being. Looking forward, the court would almost certainly revise the permanent custody order, drastically reducing or even eliminating the father's unsupervised timesharing. He might be granted supervised visitation, or perhaps only very limited contact, until he could demonstrate a fundamental change in his parenting and home environment. The daughter would recover her sense of safety, receive proper nourishment and care, and be shielded from the emotional torment and inappropriate influences. The ultimate victory would be the daughter returning to a stable, loving home where her physical and emotional needs were prioritized, finally free from a father who, by his actions, proved unable or unwilling to provide even the most basic care. Turns out, a parent's legal rights to timesharing are always secondary to a child's fundamental right to safety and well-being. That's the verdict on today's case. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was justice served? Make sure to subscribe so you never miss a filing.